Hello everyone, welcome to Anime Octopus. Today, we continue with part 2 of our captivating series, Naruko, the Sword, the Mark, the Legacy. Before we begin, please note, the content on this channel is intended solely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not claim ownership of any anime footage featured in this video. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, without further delay, let's dive right in. The members of Team 7 arrived one after another, a full 2.5 hours after the scheduled meeting time. Given their teacher's habitual tardiness, none of them were truly surprised, even for something as significant as the announcement of the Chunin selection exams. Both Naruko and Sasuke were fully prepared and eager for the challenge. Sakura, however, had her reservations. She questioned her own abilities. She was well aware that she was the least physically dominant member of their team. Her chakra control was the best by far, but her chakra reserves and stamina couldn't compare to Sasuke's, and even his were modest when placed next to Naruko's extraordinary energy levels. Indeed, Naruko's chakra was so immense that even with the Jogan, maintaining full control over it remained a struggle. In reality, it placed Sasuke and Naruko on fairly equal footing, despite Sasuke having a wider range of techniques at his disposal. Still, Naruko's unique abilities were not to be underestimated, as Sakura had learned during their mission in the Land of Waves. Where Sasuke excelled in technique, Naruko stood out through sheer power. "Yo!" greeted Kakashi as he appeared casually. "You're late," Sakura shouted in frustration. "Well, you see, I got lost on the road of life," he replied with a carefree shrug. "Liar," she snapped. "You know, Sakura-chan, it's not like we've been waiting forever. We just got here a little while ago ourselves," Naruko said with a playful smile. Sakura lightly tapped her on the back of the head. "Baka," she muttered quietly. "Anyway, I've got some important news," Kakashi said, his tone nonchalant. "We're being entered into the Chunin exams in 2 days?" Sasuke said, more as a statement than a question. "Yes, actually. How did you figure that out?" "We had an encounter with a team from the Sand Village yesterday. One of their members reminded me of myself. His name is Gaara," Naruko informed him. Kakashi's expression grew serious. "I've heard rumors. But I didn't expect it to be the Kazekage's own son. That could complicate things." "Gaara is the Kazekage's son?" asked Sakura, clearly surprised. "Yes. His teammates are his older siblings," Kakashi explained. "It's best to avoid conflict with him for as long as possible, though that will become difficult once the final part of the exams begins." "Why is that, Kakashi-sensei?" Sakura asked. "I'm afraid I can't share that information," Kakashi replied. "Can't? Or won't?" Naruko questioned. "Does it even matter?" Sasuke interjected. "We'll find out eventually if we make it that far." Naruko nodded in agreement. "Just remember, it's entirely your decision whether or not you want to participate. Don't show up unless you're truly ready," Kakashi advised as he handed out the registration forms. "Don't worry about a thing, Kakashi-sensei. Leave it to us," Naruko said confidently. "Naruko Baka," Sakura scolded as she gave her another light smack. "This is serious. People have been hurt during these exams." "But Sakura-chan, we've all gotten stronger. Especially you, you're at least twice as capable as when we went to the Land of Waves. We've grown a lot, but I think you've improved the most," Naruko said sincerely. Sakura blushed at the compliment, though she was slightly disappointed it hadn't come from Sasuke. Still, she appreciated Naruko's effort to encourage her. Kakashi gave a soft smile at their interaction. Sasuke appeared slightly irritated, though also somewhat relieved that Sakura might finally be moving on from her infatuation with him. "Thanks, Naruko," Sakura said appreciatively. "Well, I've got to run. You have the rest of the day free," Kakashi said before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. "One of these days. I'm definitely going to learn how to do that," Naruko muttered. Sasuke nodded silently. "Hey, Sasuke-kun. Would you like to hang out this evening?" Sakura asked hesitantly. "No," he replied coolly, clearly uninterested. Sakura's smile faded, and she turned toward Naruko, only to find she had already left. "Even Naruko is leaving me behind now," she thought, frowning as she walked away from the training ground. Naruko watched her go, her expression tinged with sadness. "You know," Kakashi said suddenly, appearing behind her, "it looked like she was finally about to ask you out. You've been hoping for this for a while. Are you just going to let the moment pass you by?" "I do have my pride, Kakashi-sensei," Naruko replied softly. I may be loud and impulsive at times, but I won't be someone else's stand-in. Fair enough, Kakashi said thoughtfully. But don't sell her short either. Naruko gave a small shrug and walked off to find something else to occupy her time. It didn't take long before Naruko encountered the Konohamaru Corps, or rather, they found her. Naruko Ne-chan. Are you going to play ninja with us today? Udon asked excitedly. Yeah. You said you would last time, but you didn't. Konohamaru added accusingly. I would've, if you hadn't upset Sakura-chan back then, Naruko replied with a chuckle. And then you picked a fight with that ninja from the sand. I was just trying to help you get her to like you. Konohamaru defended. I appreciate it, really. But Sakura-chan doesn't feel that way about me, Naruko said calmly. Moegi raised an eyebrow. But what about you, Ne-chan? Do you like her? Naruko sighed. These kids had a way of asking all the difficult questions. Look, I know what you're trying to do, but this is something I have to figure out on my own. You still didn't answer the question, boss. Konohamaru pointed out. And I don't plan to either, Naruko said with mock defiance. The group exchanged glances and nodded in unison. Do it, Moegi. Puppy dog eyes no jutsu, she cried, giving Naruko a look she simply couldn't resist. Before Naruko could respond, Moegi was suddenly pulled away by a mysterious shinobi. Ne-chan, Moegi cried out. Konohamaru-kun. Boss, you've got to help her, shouted Konohamaru. Don't worry, I've got this, Naruko declared confidently, immediately giving chase. After a brief pursuit, Naruko caught up to the intruder, who had Moegi secured to a tree. Withdraw from the Chunin exams, or the girl gets hurt. The ninja threatened. Naruko's gaze narrowed. You won't need to worry about that. I can stop you without even laying a hand on you. Oh really? How do you plan to? Look down, she said, vanishing in a puff of smoke. Before the enemy could react, Naruko erupted from the ground beneath him. Fire style, flame spirit strike, she shouted, landing a precise blow. You didn't expect that, did you? She said with a smirk. The shinobi dropped the transformation technique, revealing himself to be Iruka. Congratulations, Naruko. You passed. But tell me, how did you know it was me? I could sense your chakra signature, she answered simply. You can already identify chakra signatures? Iruka asked in awe. That's quite advanced, even some elite ninja struggle with that. Naruko smiled. I've never exactly been ordinary. You'll make an excellent Hokage someday, Naruko, Iruka said warmly. The best there's ever been, until Konohamaru takes over, she replied, ruffling the boy's hair. Konohamaru's eyes widened with excitement before he lunged forward to hug her. Do you really mean that, boss? Of course. It's the duty of each Hokage to be better than the one before them. But just because you're my favorite rival doesn't mean I'll make it easy. You're going to have to work hard. Don't worry, boss. I'll give it everything I've got. I'll be the greatest Hokage ever, Konohamaru shouted enthusiastically, striking his signature nice guy pose. Naruko and Iruka shared a laugh, both proud and hopeful for what lay ahead. She's even using my catchphrases. Naruko thought with an amused expression. Why don't we go grab some ramen in a bit? I have to finish a report on your progress, Naruko, but I'll meet you all at Ichiraku's in about 10 minutes, alright? Said Iruka before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. Wow. I really need to learn how to do that. Naruko thought, as she and the Konohamaru Corps made their way to her favorite restaurant. Not too far from where Naruko had recently supported Moegi. How did they do? Asked Kakashi. Exceptionally well, honestly, Iruka said with a small sigh. They've all advanced much more than I expected in such a short time. What did you think of Naruko's performance? Kakashi asked casually. Her progress surprised me the most. Iruka responded with a gentle smile. She's really grown. How did she learn to sense chakra signatures so quickly? Since Naruko trusts you deeply, I suppose it's alright to tell you, though she would have probably preferred to explain it herself, Kakashi said thoughtfully. She's awakened a unique Kekkei Genkai. Right now, only Sasuke, Sakura, Haku, the Sandaime, and I are aware. Iruka frowned. So? She does have a family connection after all. He clenched his fists briefly, all that time spent alone. Her family was lost during the Nine Tails incident, Kakashi explained gently. Now we've only just confirmed who they truly were. Who were they? Iruka asked, softening his tone. Arashi-sensei, said Kakashi. Iruka's eyes widened. The fourth Hokage, he murmured. Kakashi nodded. Iruka slowly collected himself. How did she take it? Not great at first, understandably so, but she came to terms with it, Kakashi said. Actually, she handled it better than I expected. So Naruko possesses the Jogan, Iruka said quietly. Then he looked a little somber. You were right, Kakashi-san. You care about her. That's nothing to feel guilty about, Kakashi reassured. But remember, they all have to grow up sometime. Now, I believe you have a lunch appointment with some future Hokage candidates and their friends. Naruko was the first to arrive on the day the exams began. She only waited 10 minutes before Sasuke appeared, slightly ahead of Sakura. You ready, Dobi? Sasuke asked with his usual confidence. You know it, team, Naruko said with excitement. Just try not to faint when I show you how much I've improved during the exams. As if. Getting out of bed is harder work than beating you, he said with a smirk. That's because you're too scared to face me directly, you'd rather stay lazy and hide from your fan club, Naruko teased back. You're just jealous because you don't have one, he shot back. Take that back, Naruko yelled. As Team 7 entered the building, they didn't notice a blushing, pale-eyed Kunoichi watching them quietly from around the corner. She frowned slightly at Sasuke's comment, not out of offense, but because she admired Naruko greatly. Hey, Hinata. Her teammate called, what are you doing? And nothing, Kiba-kun. She replied softly as her two teammates approached. Well, we should probably get going, right? Kiba said with enthusiasm. This exam's going to be awesome. Please don't act impulsively, Kiba, Shino remarked calmly. Come on, how tough can it really be? Kiba asked. Tougher than we might be prepared for, Shino replied. We're still rookie Jinan, and rushing in recklessly would not be wise. So I'm holding us back, huh? Kiba said, raising an eyebrow. Please don't argue, Hinata said quietly. I'm sure Shino didn't mean it that way. Hinata's right, Shino agreed. Let's focus on what's important for now. Team 7 had only reached the next floor when they were stopped by a group of students blocking the hallway. Sasuke, flanked by Sakura and Naruko, was the first to notice the sign, Room 301. Sasuke exchanged a glance with Naruko, who nodded in return. He then stepped forward just as the two older Jinan knocked down a boy in a green jumpsuit with a bowl haircut and thick eyebrows. You think you're ready for the Chunin exams looking like that? What makes you think you're good enough? Asked a student with spiky hair. You might as well give up now, said another beside him, his forehead protector tied like a bandana. You're all just little kids, the first one mocked. Please let us through, a girl with two buns in her hair pleaded. She was pushed down just as quickly. Naruko's eyes narrowed. She recognized the girl immediately, one of her fellow Kenjutsu trainees. She's definitely stronger than that. What's going on? The Chunin exams aren't a joke, the first boy said. Many give up being shinobi, and some never return the same. We've seen it happen more than once, the second added. A Chunin is expected to take on leadership roles. Failure affects the entire team. We're just helping eliminate those who aren't ready. That's fair, isn't it? I agree, Sasuke said calmly as he stepped forward with Naruko and Sakura. But you'll let us pass. Also, remove the genjutsu. This is only the second floor. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Naruko was reassured to see Tenten's team unfazed. Clearly, they had noticed the illusion too. So you caught it, huh? The second boy replied, mildly impressed. Sakura, you saw it first, right? Sasuke asked, looking toward the pink-haired Kunoichi. Though she often doted on him, he recognized her analytical skills and genjutsu awareness as top tier on their team. Of course, Sakura said. Even Naruko noticed it. I'm not that bad with genjutsu. Naruko protested. In truth, even with the Jogan, genjutsu wasn't her strong suit. Still, her skills had grown immensely in recent weeks. She could already dispel weaker illusions and was working hard on improving her chakra control. Her best technique was still the transformation technique, refined through endless practice. Not bad, the first boy said. But noticing it doesn't mean much unless you can do something about it. He shifted to strike Sasuke. Before anyone could react, the green-clad boy dashed between them, stopping the attack effortlessly. So fast. Thought Sakura, wide-eyed. He's completely different from before. Even Sasuke was impressed. He caught that kick effortlessly. The chakra in his arms is remarkable. Naruko, however, was stunned for a different reason. Using the Jogan briefly, she had observed everything in detail. He didn't even use chakra. Even Sasuke couldn't move like that. In fact, the boy's chakra presence was incredibly faint, barely enough to function. Yet his speed and control were astonishing. What happened to the plan? Asked a pale-eyed boy standing next to Tenten, whom Naruko guessed to be her other teammate. You're the one who said we shouldn't attract unnecessary attention. Well, began the green-clad Jinan, glancing toward Sakura. Sakura suddenly felt a chill in her stomach. Oh no. So, they were holding back their true abilities. I know how strong Tenten is, and this boy doesn't seem weak either. I wonder how skilled their third teammate is. Naruko thought thoughtfully. Meanwhile, the green-clad Jinan approached Sakura. My name is Rock Lee. So, your name is Sakura, Lee said with a blush forming on his cheeks. With a determined smile, he gave her a thumbs up. Would you consider being my girlfriend? I'll always look out for you and keep you safe. And no way. Sakura replied, startled and visibly uncomfortable. Rock Lee lowered his head in disappointment. Naruko offered him a sympathetic smile. She knew what it felt like to be turned down. Hey, you, said the pale-eyed boy, focusing his serious gaze on Sasuke. What's your name? Sizing up the competition, Naruko observed silently. If you want to know someone's name, you should introduce yourself first, Sasuke responded with a calm, somewhat condescending tone. You're new to this, right? Asked the pale-eyed boy. How old are you? I don't owe you an answer, Sasuke replied confidently as the boy narrowed his eyes slightly. What? The boy responded coolly, while Tenten chuckled at the subtle rivalry forming. Sasuke turned his back on him. Come on, Naruko, Sasuke-kun, let's go, said Sakura, eager to move along. Naruko turned to Tenten. After this, would you like to train together again, Tenten? She asked, drawing curious glances from both teams. Hayate-sensei says I've improved, but my technique still needs refining. Sure, Naruko, Tenten replied with a kind smile. While Naruko wasn't quite at her level, her progress had been remarkable. In just a few weeks, Naruko had grown considerably, almost certainly training diligently every chance she got. Naruko, how do you know her? Sakura asked curiously. After Kakashi-sensei gave me my father's sword, he arranged extra training for me with Hayate-sensei and Tenten. From what I've heard, her sensei and Kakashi-sensei have a bit of a friendly rivalry, so he was happy to help with my training, Naruko explained. Kakashi-sensei mentioned that learning sword techniques would diver. Diversify? Sakura offered helpfully. Yeah, that. Naruko smiled. He said it would make our team stronger, your expertise with genjutsu, Sasuke's ninjutsu, and me adding kenjutsu into the mix. As they walked down the corridor, Sasuke pondered the talented Jinan they had encountered. So many skilled opponents. This is going to be interesting. Not long after, a voice called from behind. You. With the dark eyes, wait. The trio turned around and saw the green-clad Jinan standing on a platform above. Naruko raised an eyebrow, Sakura cringed slightly, and Sasuke stood calmly. What is it? Sasuke asked. Would you battle me, right here and now? Lee asked with determination. A match? Here? Sasuke responded. Yes, Lee confirmed as he leapt over the railing, landing confidently in front of them. My name is Rock Lee. If you want to know someone's name, you give yours first, right? Uchiha Sasuke. So you already know? Sasuke said, intrigued. I want to challenge you, Lee said, taking a taijutsu stance. I want to test my skills against a highly regarded member of a legendary ninja clan. Then he glanced at Sakura, blushing. Also, Sakura-san, you are truly lovely. You, Sakura said, visibly flustered. Those eyebrows are just. No. You're an angel, Lee said dreamily, apparently oblivious to her reaction. Please stop. That's too much. Sakura responded firmly. You don't need to be so discouraging, Lee said, disheartened. Sasuke scoffed. You know the Uchiha name and still challenged me? You're underestimating what it means to face me. Excellent. Lee replied, shifting into his Goken, strong fist, stance. Finally, Gai-sensei. I will show you my progress. Don't do this, Sasuke. warned Naruko. You want to face him yourself, Naruko? Sasuke asked, raising an eyebrow. He wouldn't have asked if he wasn't confident. Titles and family names only take you so far, Naruko replied, watching Lee with sharp focus. Quiet, Naruko, Sakura interjected. Sasuke-kun is one of the top Sharingan. With the Sharingan, he's almost unbeatable. Maybe so. But I've seen what Lee can do, Naruko said, subtly adjusting her headband to hide the faint glow of her joggin. Then I'll prove you wrong, Sasuke replied with conviction. Unspoken, his words carried an insult toward Naruko's own unique ability. The joggin remained still, perhaps unbothered, or maybe it was anticipating Sasuke's lesson in humility. Ready? Sasuke said, turning his full attention to Rock Lee. Naruko watched intently, the joggin silently active beneath her forehead protector. Sasuke lunged forward, aiming a punch at Lee, who calmly blocked the strike. Sasuke spun to follow with a kick, but Lee countered with a sweeping leg strike. Konoha Reppu, Leaf Gale. He called as Sasuke flipped away to avoid further damage. Sakura was astonished. Naruko, however, seemed unsurprised as the two squared off again. He's really strong. Sakura thought, watching Lee gain the upper hand in the exchange. I'll say it clearly, there's no one in the Konoha Sharingan stronger than I am right now, Lee said firmly. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. We'll see about that, he replied, charging once more. Sasuke-kun, we don't have time, we have to check in at the reception desk in less than half an hour, Sakura reminded him. Relax, Sasuke said, focused. This will only take 5 minutes. As Sasuke moved to strike again, Lee vanished. What? Sasuke thought, stunned. Incredible. Without using chakra, Naruko observed. Konoha Daisenpu, Leaf Great Whirlwind, shouted Lee as he struck upward toward Sasuke's head. Sasuke barely ducked, only to be hit by a second kick. I can't avoid this. I'll have to block, what? The force of Lee's follow-up kick shattered Sasuke's guard, sending him flying backward. Sasuke-kun, Sakura cried, watching him struggle to his feet. What's going on? Sasuke muttered. He broke through my guard. Was it ninjutsu? Or genjutsu? Time to get serious, Sasuke declared, his eyes now glowing with the Sharingan. The Sharingan, Sakura exclaimed. All our training is paying off, Sasuke-kun can now use it almost instinctively. Sasuke-kun can't lose, Sakura said hopefully. Keep watching, Naruko said calmly. You're about to see the limits of relying on lineage alone. Before Sasuke could act, Lee delivered a swift kick to his chin, launching him upward. But the Sharingan, Sakura stammered. A name isn't everything, Sakura, Naruko said. The Sharingan can't read it. That means his moves. My techniques are neither ninjutsu nor genjutsu, Lee explained, advancing again. Sasuke landed on his feet but barely had time to brace before Lee attacked once more. Sasuke dodged desperately, but Lee's strikes were too fast and too precise. My style is pure taijutsu, Lee said as Sasuke stumbled back from a powerful elbow strike. Just as I suspected, Naruko said quietly. What do you mean? Sakura asked. Just watch. We're about to see the difference between natural skill and unwavering dedication, Naruko replied. Lee vanished again, appearing behind Sasuke in a flash. You may doubt it because it's so simple, Lee said, jumping to avoid Sasuke's counterattack. Kuso. Sasuke growled, teeth clenched. It's said that the Sharingan can analyze all forms of ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu, explained Lee with clarity and focus. Since ninjutsu and genjutsu require the summoning of chakra and precise hand signs, they can be anticipated and defended against. But taijutsu is another matter entirely. What do you mean? Sasuke inquired curiously. Even if your Sharingan can track my movements, Lee continued, your body lacks the agility to respond in time to my physical techniques. Being able to see the movement is one thing, but reacting fast enough is something else entirely. That's why taijutsu is unique. Lee's expression became more passionate as he explained further. I believe there are two kinds of strength, the naturally gifted and the relentlessly dedicated. Your Uchiha heritage places you among the talented few. I, on the other hand, have built my strength through relentless effort, having honed my skills exclusively in taijutsu. Sasuke's frustration peaked and he rushed at Lee, who maintained his calm demeanor, still speaking as he nimbly avoided the attacks. It could be said that my taijutsu poses a challenging counter to your Sharingan. With that, Lee launched Sasuke into the air with a swift kick, then leapt after him. Kage Buyo, shadow of the dancing leaf. Now mirroring Sasuke's mid-air posture, Lee spoke with conviction. Now I will demonstrate that hard work can surpass even natural talent. As his bandages unraveled, preparing to secure Sasuke mid-air, Lee declared, "Victory is mine." But just before he could complete the technique, a small spinning object flew through the air, pinning the bandages to the wall. Naruko, having been watching the match with intense interest, hadn't sensed the newcomer approach and quickly deactivated her Jogan, hoping the brief teal glow beneath her headband had gone unnoticed. "That's enough, Lee," came a commanding voice, from a red and yellow turtle standing upright with an unmistakably stern expression. Lee immediately landed while Sasuke descended toward the ground. "Sasuke-kun," called Sakura, rushing to break his fall. "Are you all right?" she asked with genuine concern. Even with the Jogan, I could hardly track his movements. I doubt Sasuke and I together could manage to outmatch him, thought Naruko solemnly, watching Lee with a newfound respect. "Lee, that technique is not to be used casually," reprimanded the turtle. "A talking turtle?" Naruko mused, her attention fixed more on the unusual instructor than on Sakura's care for Sasuke. I didn't mean to," Lee began apologetically, only to be cut off. "No excuses," the turtle said firmly. "You know well that a shinobi must not reveal specialized techniques without authorization. Are you ready to accept your consequences?" "Yes," Lee replied quietly, remorse in his voice. As Naruko observed the curious interaction, she turned to Sakura and whispered, "Sakura-chan. Can turtles be mentors?" Sakura blinked in confusion. "How would I know something like that?" she snapped back in a whisper. Just then, a puff of smoke erupted, and standing tall behind the turtle was someone who looked remarkably like an older version of Lee, complete with the same hairstyle and thick eyebrows. "I sense the flames of youth burning strong within each of you," the man proclaimed proudly. "That guy's even stranger than the kid," Sasuke muttered, still baffled. "Super thick eyebrows. Super strange haircut," Sakura mumbled. "Those eyebrows look like they've got lives of their own," Naruko added in wide-eyed amusement. Lee turned to them, visibly upset. "Please don't insult Guy-sensei," he protested passionately. "With people like this showing up out of nowhere, how else are we supposed to react?" exclaimed Sakura. "What did you just say?" Lee replied, visibly distressed. His admiration for Sakura was clearly overshadowed by his respect for his mentor. "Lee, enough," said Guy with a gentle smile. "Yes, Guy-sensei," Lee said, straightening up. Then, Guy's expression turned serious. "You're reckless, Lee," he said dramatically before playfully sending Lee tumbling with a swift tap. "You must learn self-restraint." "Sensei," Lee called out emotionally as he stood, tears glistening in his eyes. "Lee," Guy responded, equally moved. "Guy-sensei. No need to say more," Guy said gently as a beach scene with a golden sunset seemed to fill the space around them. "Sensei," Lee cried as he hugged Guy. "Lee." Sakura blinked, unsure of what she was witnessing. Naruko mumbled, blinking at the surreal scene. I just lost too." "That guy," Sasuke whispered in disbelief. "Yes. This is the very essence of youthful energy." Guy beamed. "Sensei. Youth is about growing and learning from our experiences," Guy said warmly. "You're too kind, Guy-sensei," sniffled Lee. "Now, to reinvigorate your spirit, 100 laps around the training grounds," Guy announced, pointing toward the horizon. "Yes, Guy-sensei. Let's go." "Right behind you." "What about the Chunin exams?" Sakura asked urgently. "There's not much time left." "Oh, right," Guy said sheepishly. "Lee, your consequences will be postponed until after the exams." "Yes, sir," Lee replied, giving a formal salute. "The spirit of youth demands 500 laps," Guy declared enthusiastically, then turned to Team 7. "By the way, how is Kakashi-sensei doing these days?" "You're his rival, right?" asked Naruko. "He is my eternal rival," Guy declared proudly. "Yeah, sure," Sakura said, sounding unconvinced. Sasuke seemed similarly skeptical, though Naruko wasn't quite sure what to make of it. Guy certainly seemed eccentric, but after seeing what Lee was capable of, she knew appearances could be misleading. If Guy-sensei says, Lee began, but Guy silenced him with a look. No need to explain, Lee. Let your actions speak for you, said Guy. Naruko and Sasuke both widened their eyes as Guy vanished in the blink of an eye. If I recall correctly, came Guy's voice from behind them, my record against Kakashi stands at 50 victories to 49 defeats, in my favor. All of Team 7 spun around in astonishment. That means I'm winning. That speed. It's astonishing. Naruko thought. He's even quicker than Kakashi. Sasuke reflected. See? Isn't Guy-sensei incredible? Lee beamed. Apologies for Lee's behavior, Guy said kindly. I give you my word, such an incident won't happen again. His bright smile sparkled, and he flicked a kunai, neatly freeing the bandages still pinned to the wall. Naruko quietly observed Lee rewrapping his hand. She noticed the subtle scars and the thick calluses, clear evidence of countless hours of disciplined training. Even without the Joggin, she could see that Lee was a true embodiment of perseverance. He's the real deal. A true master of effort, she thought. Good luck, Lee. See you soon. Guy called before disappearing in another puff of smoke. Kuso. Muttered Naruko with slight irritation. I really need to find someone to teach me how to do that. Everyone looked at her with mild confusion. Neither Sasuke nor Sakura understood why she was so fascinated with learning the body flicker technique, though Sasuke secretly wanted to learn it too, not that he'd ever say so aloud. Sasuke-kun, one final note, Lee said, preparing to leave. Though I came here to test myself, I must admit, I am not the strongest Jonin in the village. That individual is likely on my team. I've entered the exams to challenge him. But you're also someone I aim to surpass. Be ready. With those words, Lee leapt away to rejoin his teammates. Sasuke looked frustrated, and Sakura tried to offer comfort. Sasuke-kun. Bloodlines and heritage. They're not everything, right Sasuke? Naruko asked, her tone calm and sincere. Her gaze held no mockery, only truth. Naruko, Sakura shouted, sensing tension. Quiet, Sasuke said through clenched teeth. Next time, I'll win. Sure. Although you just got overwhelmed, Naruko replied plainly. Naruko, don't be rude, Sakura snapped. Ignoring her, Naruko turned to Sasuke. Did you see his hands? All those marks. He's been training harder than any of us. That's what I meant. Sakura glanced at Sasuke, concern in her eyes as he clenched his fist silently. The Chunin exams. Just got even more intriguing, Sasuke said, a confident smile spreading across his face. Sakura smiled in response, and Naruko gave a small nod. Together, the three teammates walked forward, unaware of the trials, growth, and discoveries that awaited them on the path ahead. It didn't take Team 7 long to reach the actual room 301. Upon arrival, they were met by none other than their instructor, Hatake Kakashi. Ah, glad to see you've all made it, Sakura, he said with his usual laid-back tone, his eyes still skimming the pages of a small orange book titled Makeout Paradise, Volume 3. You're now officially eligible to register for the Chunin exams, he informed them. Noticing their puzzled expressions, he elaborated, this exam can only be taken by a complete team of 3. But you said it was up to us whether we wanted to participate or not, Sakura said, a bit uncertain. Yes, I did, Kakashi replied casually. So? You weren't being truthful? Sakura asked, confused. Not quite, Sasuke responded. It was genuinely your decision to make. He just didn't want Naruko or me to pressure you into it. Exactly, Kakashi nodded. Seeing Naruko's slightly disappointed expression, he added gently, even if they wouldn't have pressured you, you might have felt like you were holding them back. That kind of guilt can sometimes push someone into decisions they're not ready for. The explanation made sense to all of them. So, if only Naruko and Sasuke had shown up, what would have happened? Sakura asked. I wouldn't have allowed them to proceed to the next phase, Kakashi said. But since each of you arrived on your own will, congratulations. I'm proud to have all of you on my team. He smiled subtly, his joy visible only through the soft curve of his visible eye, then stepped aside to let them in. All right. Naruko beamed with excitement. Let's do this. Kakashi watched them enter as the door closed behind them. Wow, Naruko whispered, gazing around in amazement, while Sasuke surveyed the room with calm scrutiny. Sakura stared wide-eyed at the large gathering of participants. There are so many. Is everyone here for the exam? Her nerves escalated as she scanned the room. Could they all be strong? Her thoughts were interrupted by something even more startling to her than the intense atmosphere. Sasuke-kun. You're finally here. A voice called out as someone enthusiastically wrapped themselves around Sasuke's back. I've been waiting forever to see you again. It was Yamanaka Ino, another top admirer of Sasuke, and Sakura's long-standing rival. Sakura's anxious demeanor turned to irritation almost instantly. Get off Sasuke-kun, Ino, Sakura exclaimed. Naruko sighed as Ino clung to Sasuke's arm with a bright smile. Oh, it's you, Sakura. Still as dramatic and forehead heavy as ever, I see, Ino said with a teasing grin. What did you just say? Sakura shot back. Ino simply stuck her tongue out playfully. You're all participating too, huh? How troublesome. Came a bored-sounding voice. It was Nara Shikamaru, standing beside a larger boy munching on a bag of chips, Akimichi Choji. Looks like the whole gang's here, said another voice cheerfully. It was Inuzuka Kiba, accompanied by his loyal canine companion Akamaru perched atop his head. Naruko remembered when she, Kiba, Akamaru, Shikamaru, and Choji used to sneak away from school together on occasion. Hello. And Naruko-chan. Came a gentle voice. When Naruko turned, she saw Hinata looking away, blushing furiously. Naruko blinked, unsure why Hinata always seemed so shy around her. Despite her efforts to connect, Hinata would never quite meet her gaze and would stammer during conversation. Though Naruko had sharp instincts as a ninja, some things still flew over her head. The third member of Hinata's group stood quietly, barely reacting. He was perhaps the tallest among them, wearing dark glasses that hid his expression. His name was Aburame Shino, and Naruko could barely recall much about him beyond his quiet demeanor. You're all here too. This just became even more troublesome, Shikamaru sighed. So all 9 of us rookies are entering this year? Kiba said with enthusiasm. How far do you think we'll get, Sasuke? You sound overly confident, Sasuke remarked. We've trained hard. We won't lose to you. Kiba replied, puffing his chest. Be careful with your assumptions. Underestimating anyone here will cost you, Naruko said firmly. Sorry, Naruko-chan. Kiba-kun didn't mean it that way, Hinata said softly, fingers nervously tapping together. Hey, keep it down, a silver-haired Janan advised. You're the 9 rookie graduates, right? You should know this isn't some group outing. And who exactly are you to lecture us? Ino shot back. I'm Yakashi Kabuto, he replied with a polite smile. You're the one who mentors Haku at the hospital, Naruko said, surprised. Sasuke and Sakura looked intrigued, while some others seemed confused. Ah, a friend of yours? Kabuto asked. Haku has quite the natural talent for medical techniques, especially for someone with no formal background. We met him during a mission, Naruko explained briefly. Well, anyway, Kabuto continued, take a look around. The group behind you is from Amigakure, known for their tempers. Everyone's tense right now because the exam is about to begin. Just offering a word of advice, especially since you all are newcomers. It brings back memories for me. Kabuto-san, right? Sakura asked. Yes, he replied. Is this your second time taking the exam? She inquired. No, this is actually my 7th attempt, Kabuto admitted. The exams are held twice a year, and I've been at it for 4 years now. So you must know a lot about them, she said. Indeed, Kabuto nodded. That makes you somewhat of an expert, Naruko added. But he's never passed, Shikamaru noted, prompting Kabuto to laugh sheepishly. That's true, Kabuto admitted with a light-hearted shrug. Wow. Is the Chunin exam really that challenging? Shikamaru muttered, sounding more burdened by the moment. Well, would any of you like some information? Kabuto offered, pulling out a small deck of cards. These are ninja information cards. Ninja info cards? Sakura asked curiously. Exactly. I've been compiling data over the past 4 years and recording it on these using chakra, he explained, kneeling to demonstrate. Each card stores a significant amount of intel, but only I can access the data through my chakra. He flipped over the top card, which appeared blank, then performed a quick hand sign. A small puff of chakra made the text appear. What are you doing now? Ino asked, watching as he twirled a card expertly between his fingers. I've safeguarded the data. Without my chakra, the cards reveal nothing. Kabuto then began explaining the political and tactical purpose behind the exams. Do you have any cards with specific personal data? Sasuke asked with interest. Yes, Kabuto replied. Is there anyone you're curious about? Yeah. How about Rock Lee, Sabaku no Gaara? And Uzumaki Naruko, Sasuke said. Even Naruko raised an eyebrow. What's the big idea? We're on the same team. Since we're already going to be examining my stats, we might as well see how you compare, Sasuke said with a confident smirk. After all, heritage and names don't define everything. Naruko raised an eyebrow, intrigued by his comment. As if someone like her could really compare to you, Sasuke-kun, Ino chimed in. You were Rookie of the Year, and she barely passed the academy. Don't underestimate Naruko, Sakura said, frowning. Her defense startled Ino, who had to subtly pinch herself. Ever since the academy, Sakura had frequently been critical of Naruko, especially given Naruko's self-declared rivalry with Sasuke. It was surprising to see such a change. Kabuto watched intently, noticing how much Team 7 had evolved since their first meeting, especially judging by the shocked expressions of the other rookie teams. She's much stronger than most people give her credit for. Naruko offered Sakura a soft smile. Thanks, Sakura-chan. What had transformed Team 7 so significantly that Naruko and Sasuke now held a genuine rivalry and Sakura had started standing by Naruko's side? Gone were the days when they were constantly at odds. The dynamics had shifted. Hinata frowned slightly. It was clear someone else had finally started to recognize how talented Naruko truly was. She was happy to see Naruko receiving acknowledgement, though a small part of her remembered Naruko's longtime admiration for Sakura. If Sakura were to ever return those feelings, well, Hinata wasn't sure she'd have a chance. Still, Naruko's affection didn't seem as intense as before. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was still hope. It's uncommon to see a newly formed team operate at such a high level of coordination, Kabuto noted. Only the legendary Sannin demonstrated a similar bond early in their careers. Naruko grinned in response, Sakura blushed slightly, and Sasuke gave a faint smirk. Kabuto continued, now then, just remember that the information I have on participants might not be flawless. Still, I've gathered and stored what I could. Though you may already know some names, it's the deeper details that are valuable. He sifted through a handful of information cards. Let's begin. First, Rock Lee. He held up a card showing a youth in a green jumpsuit with a bowl haircut and thick eyebrows. Only a year older than you, and this is also his first Chunin exam. 20D ranked missions, 11C ranked. His teammates are Hyuga Neji and Tenten, under the guidance of Mido Gai. His taijutsu has improved rapidly over the past year, though other areas are significantly lacking. He placed another card over Lee's and activated it with his chakra. This time, it revealed a red-haired shinobi with distinctive black eye markings and a gourd on his back. Next, Sabaku no Gaara. Mission record, 8C ranked and, quite surprisingly, 1B ranked mission, as a Jinan. He's from a foreign village and also new to the exam. Notably, he's completed every mission without sustaining any injuries. He completed a B rank and wasn't even scratched? Shikamaru asked in disbelief. Naruko's eyes narrowed. Even with the 9-tailed fox sealed within me, I haven't come out of every mission unscathed. Well then. Since you wanted to compare, let's look at these two together, Kabuto said, holding up the cards for Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruko. Impressive for Jinan, he muttered. Uchiha Sasuke, prodigy of the Uchiha clan and one of the remaining Sharingan users, Kabuto began. Naruko, having known Sasuke's motivations, wasn't surprised. His teammates are Haruno Sakura and Uzumaki Naruko. Their instructor, Hatake Kakashi, also known as the Copy Ninja. 8D ranked missions and 1A ranked mission. Not even Gaara has that on his record. Chakra reserves well above the average Jinan and even some Chunin. Master of a C-rank fire release technique and an elite graduate of the academy. Then, turning his attention to Naruko's card, Kabuto's eyes widened slightly. Interesting. 8D ranked, 1B rank, and 1A rank. Quite the resume. No listed relatives. Enrolled in the academy 3 years early but failed the final exam multiple times. However, despite struggles with basic techniques, she succeeded in mastering the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, a B-rank technique typically reserved for highly skilled Jonin with massive chakra capacity. The members of Teams 8 and 10 were visibly impressed. Sasuke's skills were expected, but hearing them detailed so clearly was a different experience. Naruko's record, however, was astonishing. Not only did she possess even greater chakra reserves than Sasuke, but she also mastered a technique that was forbidden to most. She had completed more missions than either of her teammates, further showcasing her growth. Hey, Naruko, what's with the extra B rank mission? Sasuke asked curiously. Naruko rubbed the back of her head, looking a little sheepish. Well, I didn't actually pass the graduation exam the first time. But Mizuki-sensei offered me a special chance to try again. I just had to sneak past a few guards, retrieve a certain scroll, and learn a technique from it. I managed to do that, but Iruka-sensei found me first. Turns out, Mizuki had some questionable intentions and tried to misuse the scroll. Iruka-sensei stepped in, and I protected him using the technique I learned. Cage Bunshine, Kabuto confirmed. So you not only acquired the forbidden scroll but mastered a high-level technique in a single night and managed to fend off a former instructor. For someone who ranked low in the academy, that's beyond impressive. Even Sasuke and Sakura were momentarily stunned, as were the other rookies. As I was saying, Kabuto continued, the Chunin exams include participants from Konoha, Suna, Ame, Kusa, Taki, and Ado. Each of these villages has sent highly capable shinobi. Ado is relatively new, so there isn't much data on their members. Regardless, all the competitors here are top-tier rookies. Hinata, quietly watching, mumbled to herself, I'm starting to lose confidence. Naruko heard her and gave a reassuring look. So in short, everyone here is elite in their own right, Sakura concluded. Exactly. This won't be easy. Elsewhere, Kakashi stood by the entrance, quietly observing his students. Despite his earlier confidence when speaking to Iruka, he couldn't help but feel concerned. Despite their brave fronts, they must be nervous. Sakura scanned the room and noticed many of the Genin appeared unsettled by Kabuto's intel. Even Sasuke seemed to have some tension behind his calm exterior. Naruko appeared slightly shaken, which surprised Sakura. Since making her vow after the encounter with the Demon Brothers, Naruko hadn't displayed fear, not even in the presence of more experienced shinobi. Just as Sakura was about to offer words of encouragement, Naruko suddenly stood with renewed energy and determination. My name is Uzumaki Naruko, she announced to the room. Future Hokage of the Hidden Leaf. And I won't lose to a single one of you. Kakashi, still leaning casually near the door, smiled. Perhaps I don't need to worry after all. What is with her? Ino asked Sakura, pointing toward Naruko. What does she gain from provoking everyone? Don't ask me, Sakura exclaimed. Well, who else am I supposed to ask? Ino snapped as they exchanged glances. Only Sasuke and Kabuto seemed to grasp Naruko's intention. With one bold declaration, she had shifted the mood of the entire room, breaking the overwhelming tension. The nervous energy had been replaced with a new focus, Naruko. There's no way she's anything like Gaara. They seem completely different, whispered Kankuro to Tamari. Perhaps. But appearances can be misleading, she replied. Though her tone sounded more like she was trying to convince herself. In Team Guy's corner, the conversation mirrored the others. What is she thinking? Tenten whispered. Surely she's not that reckless. She's simply ablaze with spirit, Lee said confidently. At the very least, her attitude is encouraging, Neji remarked. Maybe you didn't challenge them hard enough, Lee. In contrast, the Ado team was visibly annoyed with both the rookies and Kabuto's analysis. Did you hear that? The one-eyed Ado-nin whispered. He called us a minor village. Let's give them a taste of what we can do, the black-haired Kunoichi said with a sly smile. Right. Let's make sure they remember us, added their teammate. While the Ado team silently conspired, the rookies from Konoha remained unaware. I won't lose to any of you? That's a bold claim, Kiba said. She basically invited everyone in the room to challenge her, Shikamaru muttered. Seriously, Naruko, what were you thinking? Sakura asked as she lightly tapped Naruko on the head. Seeing the entire room's attention now directed toward them, she gave a nervous smile. Sorry about that, everyone. She just gets a bit enthusiastic sometimes. Please don't take it too seriously. Shall we? The spiky-haired Ado-nin whispered. Let's go, the other responded. Naruko's mysterious eye ability flickered briefly as the Ado-nins began moving. Only Ino and Sakura noticed, as Naruko's back was facing the others. Her eyes sharpened, something wasn't right. Just as Kankuro moved to remove the item on his back, Gaara placed a hand on his arm, silently stopping him. The Ado-nin threw two kunai at Kabuto, who dodged swiftly. But it was clearly a setup, as the next Ado-nin charged in follow-up. Before he could strike, Naruko appeared in a flash and intercepted with a firm kick. Even the rookies, including Sasuke and Sakura, were caught off guard. Naruko had never displayed such precise skill before. Well done, Naruko, Kabuto said calmly. Though I could have handled it, I appreciate the support. You're a fellow Leaf Shinobi. Whether we're competitors or not, we always look after our own, Naruko replied, her gaze firm as it swept across the room, particularly at the Otonin. You only succeeded because of the surprise, one of the Otonin said bitterly. Isn't that what you tried to do? Sasuke responded coolly. Try that again, and you'll be facing more than just Naruko. Meanwhile, Ino and Sakura were engaged in a quiet conversation. She anticipated that strike, didn't she? Ino asked, her tone sharp with curiosity. What do you mean? Sakura responded, sounding slightly flustered. Don't pretend you don't know, Sakura, Ino whispered firmly. They were moving fast enough that even Sasuke-kun couldn't react in time, and Naruko had her back turned. Not even Sasuke-kun could have managed that kind of reflex. And that glow around her. What was that about? I can't tell you, Sakura replied anxiously. Whatever she's concealing under that headband of hers, it's the cause of everything, isn't it? Her new outfit, how she and Sasuke-kun have become more cooperative, you defending her all of a sudden, and her surprising abilities, when not too long ago, she could barely make it through academy exercises. What's going on, Sakura? Ino demanded. She didn't even get flustered when you stood up for her, so unlike how she used to be. Listen, Ino, Naruko may have had her awkward moments, but she's still my teammate, and I refuse to betray her trust, Sakura said firmly. The Hokage and Kakashi-sensei are already aware of the situation, and unless Naruko decides to explain, no one else needs to know. So if you're that curious, ask her directly. Fine, forehead girl. I'll let it go for now, Ino replied coolly, but I expect some answers eventually. Quiet down, everyone. Came a loud, commanding voice from the front of the room. All eyes turned to the source of the announcement. Standing before them was a man wearing a black bandana embroidered with the Konoha symbol and a face marked by old battle scars. He wore the official gray uniform of the exam proctors, topped with a long black trench coat. I am the examiner for the first portion of the Chunin selection exams. My name is Morino Aviki, the proctor introduced himself. Let me be clear, this is not a playground. Any inappropriate behavior before or during the exam will result in immediate disqualification. I apologize, said a one-eyed participant from the Hidden Sound village respectfully. This is my first time at the Chunin exams, and I got a bit overzealous. Well, now is a good time to go over the rules, Iviki continued. You are not allowed to engage in combat during the exam unless the proctors give direct permission. Even when permission is granted, extreme aggression will not be tolerated. Violate this, and you're out. Understood? He paused, scanning the room to let the weight of his words settle. Now, the first phase of the Chunin exams begins. Submit your application forms and pick up one of the numbered tags provided. That will be your assigned seat. Afterward, you'll receive the written examination. Seriously? A written test? Naruko muttered to herself in a discouraged tone, clenching her fists as a proctor held up a thick stack of exam sheets. Rows of aspiring Chunin filled the room. At the end of each row sat proctors, clipboards in hand, awaiting further instructions. As the examinees took their seats, Iviki stood at the front with an intense look that immediately silenced the room. A faint, almost imperceptible aura of pressure filled the space, making it clear he meant business. I'm all alone. Naruko thought, feeling a wave of uncertainty. Written tests had always been her biggest weakness at the academy. While Sasuke might struggle in some areas, he always managed to rank near the top in written exams. Sakura, meanwhile, had always been exceptionally sharp when it came to academics. What am I going to do? Several rows behind, Sakura observed Naruko with concern. This is the worst kind of test for her. If only there were some way I could help. And Naruko-chan? Came a soft, timid voice. Naruko turned slightly and saw Hinata Hyuga standing nervously nearby. Oh, hey, Hinata, Naruko said, grateful for the distraction. Hinata looked away for a moment, a faint blush appearing on her cheeks. I just wanted to wish you good luck, she said shyly, managing a small smile. Let's both do our very best. Thanks, Hinata. Good luck to you, too, Naruko replied warmly, a gentle smile on her face. I didn't even notice she was here. I really need to get better at sensing people. At the front of the room, Morino Iviki tapped the chalkboard with a piece of chalk to regain attention. This first test comes with very specific rules, he began. I will not answer any questions, so listen carefully. Sakura focused, puzzled by his approach. No questions allowed? This must be part of the challenge. First rule, everyone starts with 10 points. The test contains 10 questions, each worth 1 point, he stated as he wrote the information on the board. It's a deduction-based system. One wrong answer equals a 1-point deduction. 3 incorrect answers leave you with 7 points. So if I get everything wrong, I'm down to 0. Naruko thought anxiously, a pit forming in her stomach. Second rule, Ibiki continued, your team's collective score determines whether you pass or fail. Oh no. Naruko's thoughts tumbled into worry again. Wait, what do you mean by your team's total points? Sakura asked aloud. Silence, Ibiki said sharply, his voice commanding enough to cause Sakura to instinctively shrink back. There is a reason for everything, and all will be made clear. Now, moving on. A reason? Sakura pondered nervously. If a proctor catches you cheating or engaging in suspicious behavior, you will lose 2 points for each offense, Ibiki said with a knowing smirk. Some participants won't even have their exams graded due to repeated violations. So you could be disqualified without even seeing your results. Sakura realized. Those who cheat without strategy will only undermine their own performance, Ibiki added. As future Chonin, your ability to think and act professionally is crucial. Stay calm. Sakura reassured herself. Even if Naruko struggles, Sasuke-kun and I just have to make up for it. We can do this. And finally, Ibiki announced, if even one member of your team receives a score of 0, the entire team fails. Sasuke's eyes widened in alarm. What did he just say? What? Sakura shouted in shock. No way. Naruko thought with dread, her fists tightening again as she felt both her teammates' tension settle on her shoulders. And Naruko-chan? Hinata whispered gently, noticing her friend's growing distress. The final question will be given 45 minutes after the exam begins, Ibiki concluded. You have 1 hour total. Begin. Chonin exam, written test hall. The soft tapping of pencils filled the air as dozens of aspiring Chonin focused intently on the written test in front of them. Each candidate seemed fully absorbed in the challenging set of 9 questions, everyone, that is, except for one individual who looked as though she just heard that Ichiraku Ramen was permanently closing its doors. Sakura glanced sideways, frustration furrowing her brow. This is bad. Even I'm struggling with these questions. Naruko. Please don't mess this up, she thought worriedly, unable to keep herself from mentally chastising her teammate despite not knowing how she was doing. Sasuke sat a few rows over, equally frustrated. This isn't good. We've come too far for Naruko to falter now, he reflected grimly, sneaking a glance at her still form. She hadn't moved in several minutes, and that silence spoke volumes. Naruko herself was deep in thought, staring at the exam sheet, her mind racing. Okay. I've gotten through harder situations than this. I just need to stay calm and focus. One step at a time. Just pick off the easier ones first, she encouraged herself internally. Her hands clutched her head, visibly overwhelmed. One glance at the questions had told her she was in trouble. She couldn't answer any of them right away. Cheating felt like her only option, but that would mean using the joggin. Although it could help her see through her headband and copy from others, its signature glow would be visible, even if she only used it briefly. Naruko wasn't ready to reveal that secret, not yet. Not when it might lead to questions she didn't want to answer, especially those involving her sealed power. Meanwhile, Sasuke found himself no better off. Each new question made it clearer, Sakura might be the only one among their team capable of genuinely solving most of them. Maybe a few others like the Hyuga, Aburame, and Nara children could manage, but most were likely struggling. These questions are all designed around evaluating tactical thinking and observational analysis, Sakura noted silently, sneaking another glance at her blonde teammate. Naruko definitely can't answer these on her own. Honestly, not many could. Naruko had skipped the first 3 questions again, her anxiety growing. All right. Next problem, she whispered to herself nervously. Sakura frowned, sensing that the test wasn't just about academic knowledge. There has to be more to this. Naruko's shoulders tensed as her thoughts spiraled. This is bad. Really bad. What am I even doing here? Her inner voice teetered on the edge of panic as she reread questions 6 and 7, trying to decipher their meanings. Sakura, thinking deeply, realized something. This setup. It's almost encouraging cheating. But if this is a test of observation and stealth, then I hope Naruko and Sasuke don't attempt anything reckless. She mused, her expression softening slightly. Naruko isn't nearly as clueless as people say. Naruko's grip on her pencil was so tight her knuckles had gone pale. She reread the final 2 questions with increasing desperation. Stay calm. Deep breaths. You can do this. She repeated in her head like a chant. No shortcuts. No risks. Sasuke's eyes flicked across the room, noting the behavior of the proctors. They're acting like they expect us to cheat. But they aren't reacting unless it's obvious. That's odd. One proctor marked a clipboard, seemingly after catching someone. Only a 2-point deduction? That doesn't make sense unless. Flashback. Ibiki had said at the start of the test, those who cheat without thinking carefully will only harm themselves. You are trying to become Chonin. You must act like one. End flashback. Sasuke's eyes narrowed as it dawned on him. So it's not about the questions. It's about gathering information under pressure without detection. The objective is to cheat intelligently. As Kakashi-sensei would say, see underneath the underneath. He turned to scan the room again. This explains the lenient penalties. They're observing how we cheat, how well we plan and execute under stress. That's the real exam. Naruko. Think beyond the surface. It will cost you if you don't. At the same time, Naruko's nerves were getting the best of her. Her hand trembled slightly. Focus. Calm down. She thought. She tried to steady herself, but her anxious mind made it impossible to channel the Jogan effectively, and she couldn't concentrate enough to write anything down. Sasuke was already strategizing. If this is a test of covert skills, there has to be at least one person here with all the answers already. That's the key. He glanced around the room. Gaara of the sand was manipulating his sand discreetly, while Kiba seemed to be communicating with Akamaru. Looks like that really does work, Sasuke noted, having doubted Kiba's claims back in the academy. Nearby, a one-eyed shinobi from the Sound Village seemed deep in focus. Sasuke realized he was likely using sound to gather answers. A few seats away, a fly hovered near an examinee, only to land with precision on the Aburame clan member. He must be using insects for surveillance. Interesting, Sasuke observed. Even with my Sharingan and Naruko's Jogan, we'd have trouble if those 3 managed to coordinate effectively. He remembered that the Hyuga teammate wasn't quite as advanced, and though Kiba was skilled, his loud and impulsive nature often gave him away. The Aburame remained a mystery, reserved, calculating, and precise. Sasuke respected that, even if it made him cautious. Surveying the room more thoroughly, Sasuke spotted several other creative attempts at information gathering. So that's it. If your cheating method demonstrates real Chonin level skill, you aren't penalized. That's what they're really looking for, he concluded. Naruko was having the hardest time among all the examinees. 30 minutes had passed since the exam started, and she still hadn't managed to write down a single answer. She was too overwhelmed to risk conventional cheating, and too tense to effectively control her Jogan ability. She wasn't entirely sure why, but something inside her refused to rely on that particular skill. Time is running out. My only chance might be to find a way to observe the answers. She thought, clenching her pencil. But if I get caught, it won't just affect me. Sasuke and Sakura could also be disqualified. If I fail, we all do. Naruko-san. Came a soft whisper from nearby. Naruko turned her head slightly, trying not to attract attention. Lavender eyes met hers. It was Hyuga Hinata, blushing lightly. I'll show you my answers. Why would she do that? Naruko thought, puzzled by the quiet girl's offer. Hinata's not someone who plays games or sets people up. Hinata, why are you helping me? Naruko asked gently. Hinata's blush deepened. She looked down at her test paper, clearly nervous, clenching and unclenching her hands. I just don't want you to leave, she said quietly, barely audible. Naruko looked at her, surprised by the honesty. Hinata flushed further, unsure if she had said too much. The 9 of us. We're the only new candidates here. Everything is so uncertain. I just want to help. Thank you, Hinata, Naruko said sincerely, offering her a small smile. Sorry for doubting you. Hinata glanced away shyly, still blushing. Just as Naruko was about to glance at Hinata's paper, a kunai knife zoomed through the air and sliced through the space right in front of her face, narrowly missing her. Both girls turned toward the direction it came from and saw that it had embedded itself in the test paper of the student sitting directly behind them. What's going on? The startled Janan exclaimed as he stood up in alarm. A proctor with wild hair, who looked uncannily like the one who had confronted Rock Lee earlier, smirked. You've triggered suspicion 5 times. You're disqualified. Wait, what? Gather your teammates. Leave immediately, the proctor ordered without emotion. As the Jinan stood there stunned, his teammate slowly rose. Proctors removed another examinee who refused to leave, while another student from the village hidden in the sand stood in protest. You expect us to believe you're able to observe every single person in this room? Before he could say another word, a Konoha ninja appeared beside him in a flash, calmly guiding him back to his place with a precision move. His eyes were hidden beneath a headband and medical wrappings. We're the Chonin selected for this phase of the exam, the proctor said coolly. We are highly skilled, and nothing escapes our attention. Our abilities are proof enough. The Sand Nin slumped slightly under the pressure of the situation. Naruko, watching all of this unfold, sat frozen with anxiety. "Na Naruko-san," Hinata whispered again. "Hurry. Take a look." Naruko tried to calm her racing heart, suddenly aware of every movement in the room. Even the glance of a proctor sent a chill down her spine. "I can't, Hinata," she said quietly. "Besides, I want to pass on my own. I don't want to get you in trouble either." Hinata looked surprised. Her cheeks turned a deeper shade of pink. "Naruko-san," she thought dreamily. She sat in stunned silence, her eyes wide, heart pounding. "I'm sorry," she whispered at last. "I shouldn't have." Naruko gave a small chuckle. "Don't worry about it. I appreciate it anyway, Hinata-chan." Hinata almost fainted in her seat. She called me Hinata-chan. And she doesn't want me to get in trouble. Meanwhile, around the room, other Jinan were putting their skills to use. Sakura calmly analyzed each question with her strong intellect. Hyuga Neji activated his Byakugan, and Sasuke subtly activated his Sharingan. All I need is to copy his movements. Sasuke thought confidently, watching his target's pencil strokes and jotting down answers at high speed. A few seats away, Yamanaka Ino observed her longtime rival. "Looks like Sakura's nearly finished. She really is brilliant." Ino formed a few hand seals. Shintenshin no Jutsu, mind-body switch technique. Her spirit temporarily moved into Sakura's mind, and her real body slumped forward onto her paper. Shikamaru, sitting not far away, glanced toward Ino. "Troublesome technique. Better hurry and finish my part." Huji, observing quietly, nodded to himself. Just have to wait for Shikamaru now. Inside Sakura's mind, Ino examined the answers. She really figured these all out on her own. Impressive. Number 59, disqualified. Called a proctor. Numbers 33 and 9, disqualified. That's the 13th team removed. Thought Kabuto, continuing his work. Ibiki, standing at the front, watched silently as more teams were asked to leave. Numbers 35 and 62, disqualified. Ibiki glanced briefly at Gaara, impressed by the way the Sand Nin carried himself. He recalled something Kakashi had mentioned, that Gaara, like Naruko, was also host to immense inner power. When his gaze fell on Naruko, however, he saw a girl who appeared stressed to the breaking point. He couldn't help but wonder if Kakashi's trust in his team was truly warranted, though the Uchiha and Haruno seemed steady enough. "Excuse me," said a Sand Jinan dressed in black with distinctive face paint. "I need to use the restroom." "As per the rules, I'll accompany you," said a proctor, placing handcuffs on him. "Of course," replied Kankuro casually as he was escorted out. Gaara simply exhaled through his nose. 40 minutes gone. Naruko thought nervously. Her paper was still untouched. Only 20 minutes left. I'll just have to hope the last question gives me a chance. Ibiki addressed the room, smirking slightly. "It seems we've filtered out those not ready for this level. Now I'll give you the final question." Naruko gripped her pencil tightly. "This is it. Everything depends on this." Sasuke raised an eyebrow. "Took them long enough." Sakura smiled confidently, ready for whatever was next. Elsewhere, a blonde-haired San Kunoichi sat watching the door. "Kankuro, you'd better get back soon. If they give us the final question, you'll be too late to contribute." Before Ibiki began explaining, the door opened again. Kankuro and his proctor had returned just in time. "You're lucky," Ibiki commented. "Looks like your little strategy won't be wasted after all." Kankuro gave a nervous smile. As he passed by his blonde teammate, he discreetly dropped a small object near her paper. She quietly covered it with her hand, blending in seamlessly with her surroundings. "I shall now explain the rule," Ibiki said, his tone turning sharp. "This condition will determine whether you pass. Or not." The tension in the room thickened as Ibiki prepared to present the final challenge. "With our students away, things certainly feel a bit quiet. remarked Hatake Kakashi in a characteristically calm tone. I'm sure we'll be back in action soon enough, replied Sarutobi Asuma, the Jonin leader of Team 10, the well-known Inoshika-cho trio. Despite the peaceful moment, he casually took a drag from a cigarette, much to the disapproval of their third companion. And what makes you say that? Asked Kakashi, one eye narrowed in interest. The first examiner for this year's Chunin exams is Morino Ibiki, Asuma answered, a faint smile playing on his lips. Kakashi's eye briefly widened in surprise. So, they've chosen Ibiki. This year's exam may be more challenging than usual, he thought. His mind drifted momentarily to his team. They really brought in that specialist, huh? Specialist? Questioned a striking woman with deep crimson eyes and an outfit that resembled layered fabric strips. Her right arm was sheathed in a red sleeve, and both hands were wrapped in protective cloth. She was Yuhi Kurenai, Jonin instructor of Team 8, which focused on reconnaissance and included members of the Hyuga, Inuzuka, and Aburame clans. Kurenai, since you're still new to the rank of Jonin, it's understandable you might not know, Asuma offered gently. Who is he? Kurenai asked curiously. He's highly skilled, answered Kakashi simply. Skilled in what, exactly? She asked, already uneasy about the direction this conversation was taking. Asuma exhaled a thin stream of smoke before replying, he's a Tokubutsu Jonin, his area of expertise is in interrogation and psychological tactics. What? Kurenai exclaimed, clearly surprised. Don't worry, there won't be anything physically distressing in the exam, Asuma reassured her. But Ibiki's specialty lies in applying psychological pressure. He leads the Onbu's interrogation unit. The students are likely experiencing a serious mental challenge right now. Let's not underestimate them, Kakashi interjected, his voice light but confident. Though his face remained unreadable behind his mask, there was a sense of amusement in his tone. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Naruko who manages to guide her teammates through the first test. The one with the 9 tails sealed inside her? Asuma asked, his tone suddenly cautious. Both he and Kurenai were visibly surprised by Kakashi's firm expression. She finished last in the academy, Kurenai added gently. Could she really have improved that much in such a short time? Academically, she's not top tier, Kakashi admitted, but she thrives in high-pressure situations and always performs best when others doubt her. I'm confident Ibiki's challenge is pushing her limits. Naruko's determination, alongside Sasuke's natural skill and Sakura's intelligence, makes them a strong and well-balanced team. I have full faith they'll reach the final exam. What kind of strange rule is this? Naruko wondered internally, frowning. Ibiki's voice rang out across the room. Now, you must all decide whether or not you'll attempt the final question. A murmur of confusion spread throughout the group. We have to decide? What happens if we say no? Sasuke thought. A blonde-haired Jinan from the Sand Village gasped. Wait, we get to choose? What happens if we decline? Simple, Ibiki replied with a smirk. Your points will be reduced to 0, and your entire team will be disqualified. That doesn't seem fair, shouted a voice from the crowd. We'll obviously take the question. Someone else added. Yeah, it's not right that our teammates get penalized. Complained another. There's more, Ibiki said firmly, closing his eyes for a moment. The room fell silent. Another rule? Sakura thought, her worry growing. If you choose to take the final question and you get it wrong, Ibiki continued, you will lose the chance to participate in the Chunin exams ever again. What kind of rule is that? Called out Inuzuka Kiba in protest. His dog, Akamaru, barked in agreement. Some of us have taken this before. Ibiki gave a low chuckle. This year, I'm your proctor, and I make the rules. That's why I'm giving you all one last opportunity to leave. If you're uncertain, you can skip this question and try again next time. Sakura was growing more anxious by the second. So if one person chooses not to answer, the whole team fails. But if someone answers incorrectly, they're stuck as a Jinan forever? Naruko sat in silence, tense and visibly troubled. Hinata glanced her way, concern evident in her eyes. Seeing Naruko, who never gave up, hesitate like this unsettled her deeply. Ibiki addressed the room. Those who will not be taking the 10th question, raise your hands. Once we've confirmed your numbers, you may leave. What kind of question is this? Naruko thought, frozen. If I get it wrong, I'll never be allowed to try again. But if I walk away, Sasuke and Sakura will fail too. I can't let that happen. I believe in myself, Sakura reassured herself. But Naruko. Please, raise your hand. We'll try again together. Then, a ninja from Takigakure sitting near Naruko stood up. He had chosen not to take the question. That triggered a wave of students deciding to leave. As each one stepped out, their teammates were called and dismissed as well. Naruko sank deeper into doubt. Sakura watched Naruko tremble. Why? Why aren't you raising your hand? She thought with concern. She always says she wants to become Hokage, always chasing acceptance and recognition. She wouldn't give up, not when she's come this far. Flashbacks. I'm the future Hokage, Uzumaki Naruko. You better remember that name. She once declared brightly, her eyes full of passion. I'll push through anything if it means reaching my dream, she shouted with courage. I'll become someone greater than all the Hokage. I'll earn the respect of every villager. She proclaimed fiercely. I'm following my own path, and I'm not turning back, she said, eyes blazing with determination. Being seen as a hero? Ha! No one really believed that, Naruko once said softly, hurt behind her voice. Sakura-chan, imagine if the person you looked up to most, the one you respected more than anyone, turned out to be the source of your deepest struggles. How would you feel if that person was your parent? Naruko asked, voice trembling with emotion. That's right, Kakashi told them. Naruko's father was my teacher. Kazama Arashi, the fourth Hokage. Let me go. I won't let anyone mock my big sister. Konohamaru had yelled, as protective as ever. Haku crouched and smiled warmly. We mean Naruko-sama no harm. She's just been through a lot today, and we want to cheer her up. Could you help us find her? Konohamaru hesitated before nodding. I believe you. But if any of you make her sad, I won't forgive you. He warned, especially eyeing Sasuke. I promise, Konohamaru, Naruko said gently. I'll tell you everything one day. Just not right now. Don't worry, Kakashi, the third Hokage said. She holds no resentment toward you. But it's time to remind Naruko she's not alone. She's found strength in her teammates, even if they're not the closest of friends, she cherishes them deeply. Sakura looked at Naruko once more, her heart aching. She talks about being Hokage so much. Not because she wants the power, but because she wants to be seen. Respected. No longer left out. Flashback. The loneliness. Sasuke had once said. What? Sakura had asked, not understanding. You have no idea what real solitude is, he replied with quiet firmness. End flashback. I'm sorry, Naruko. I won't let you give up on your dream. Not for us. Not for me. Sakura thought with sorrow in her heart, her expression filled with determination. I'll support you in achieving your goal. I won't stand by and watch you throw it all away. She hesitated, raising her hand slowly, only to be caught off guard by a moment she never imagined witnessing. Uzumaki Naruko, the spirited and resilient future Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village, seemed ready to surrender. Sakura watched in disbelief as Naruko's hand trembled slightly in the air. Naruko. Hinata and Sasuke were equally stunned. For Hinata, her world was turning upside down. Naruko had always embodied perseverance. Even when the odds were stacked against her, she pushed forward with courage. Despite the cold stares from the villagers, she never wavered from her ambition to become Hokage. She carried herself with strength and resolve, qualities Hinata admired deeply. If someone as determined and strong as Naruko could lose confidence, how could Hinata ever hope to press on? And Naruko-san. She thought sadly. Sasuke, too, was shaken. As much as he avoided saying it aloud, he recognized Naruko's immense potential. With the proper training and refinement, her raw abilities could rival even his own. He recalled Sakura's description of the power Naruko had shown during their mission in the Land of Waves. Even Tazuna, the elder craftsman, had sensed it. Sasuke had always believed in relying solely on one's strength, keeping others at a distance to avoid emotional attachment. But Naruko. She had forced him to question that belief. Without Naruko as a benchmark, how could he measure the progress of his own abilities? TCH. Sasuke clicked his tongue in frustration. Just as I feared. Kakashi might have misjudged his team's readiness, thought Ibiki grimly. Asuma, standing nearby, exhaled slowly as he watched the scene unfold. Ibiki understands how the mind works, he said in a low voice. That's the most intimidating thing about him, he knows how to mentally corner someone, to unearth their insecurities and expose them. Naruko's hand clenched into a tight fist. Only Eviki noticed the faint, mysterious glow beneath her headband, an unusual light flickering for the briefest second. The other examiners remained focused on identifying her team's numbers. Eviki instinctively stepped back, his breath catching slightly. Naruko abruptly slammed her fist down on the desk, causing a loud thud to echo through the room. Several students jumped, startled by her sudden energy. "That's enough," she declared firmly, her voice filled with passion. "I'm not going to back down. I'll take this test no matter what. Even if I stay a Genin forever, I will still become Hokage. I'm not afraid." She stood confidently, her eyes locked onto Eviki's. "Believe it." Sasuke allowed himself a small smirk. "She's definitely got spirit." "You really don't know how to give up, do you, Naruko?" Sakura thought with a quiet smile. Eviki, momentarily conflicted, wasn't sure whether to be impressed or concerned. Everyone who had been thinking of leaving was now standing tall with renewed purpose. She turned the entire room around. Just like her father. He mused, hiding his thoughts behind a stern look. One last time, he addressed the room, his tone serious. "This decision will impact your future. If you wish to withdraw, now is your final chance." He projected another wave of mental pressure, subtle, but more intense than before. Naruko met his gaze without flinching, a confident smile playing on her lips. "I meant what I said. That's my ninja way." Eviki scanned the room and felt a dramatic shift in atmosphere. Every student was brimming with confidence, drawn in by Naruko's unwavering determination. Sakura was beaming with pride, Sasuke wore a knowing smirk, and Hinata gazed at Naruko with admiration. Even Shikamaru gave a rare approving nod from the corner. Rock Lee had a gleam of respect in his eyes, and Ino seemed more intrigued than ever. The only one who remained unreadable was the reserved Sand Shinobi, whose demeanor stayed calm and focused. Even the other proctors exchanged impressed glances. Quite the remarkable young woman. Eviki thought. She's lifted the morale of an entire room. Eliminated doubt. Strengthened their will. 78 students. 26 teams. Far more than anticipated. No reason to delay any longer. One by one, the proctors signaled their agreement. "Well then," Eviki announced, a rare grin forming on his face, "since you've all shown such resolve. Every one of you passes." A wave of disbelief swept across the room as the students began to process what he had said. Their expressions varied: shock, joy, and amazement. Eviki counted mentally: 3, 2, 1. "Wait, what? What do you mean by that?" Sakura exclaimed, her pink hair bouncing as she stood up in confusion. Dear YouTube family. That's a wrap for now. Our data stream pauses here, but the next upload is already in the rendering pipeline. If you found value in this transmission, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Anime Octopus, where animation meets innovation. Engage. Evolve. Entertain. Until next time, stay synced.